Maranatha, everyone. So glad that you could join us for this Friday edition of our prophecy update for our church, Calvary Solid Ground. And if you're unfamiliar with me, I am Pastor Jed. I am the senior pastor of a church. We are a remnant church up in Orangevale, which is near Sacramento, California. And we're here to do an update. We're to look at the news. We're going to look at some scripture, and we're going to see exactly where we are on the prophetic timeline. But before we do that, I want to remind us of a few things that we got going on at our church. And of course, the first one is that we have put together an emergency guide at our church. This emergency guide, as you can see right here, is a big red book with binding on it. Looks like an official document that you leave behind for those that are left behind. People are going to come breaking into your house, or your loved ones are going to come looking for you, and they are going to need they're going to need this book. And so you leave it right out in a conspicuous area, the first thing they see, and it's going to tell them what's going on and what they need to do in order to be saved during the tribulation period. And we just came up with this brand new project. It is these little booklets right here. It's a 32-page booklet that has a condensed version, really made for people that are still here. This is like a gospel track. They're a little bit bigger than a normal gospel track, but we just printed 5,000 of these. And we're going to be doing outreaches, going to places, and we'll probably throw one in when people order a book. I don't know if we're going to be able to sell them yet or not, but if you guys are interested, reach out to Angela at our website, Calvary Solid Ground /emergency guide. There's contact information on there. Angela will help you out with those if it's something you're interested in, but we're really excited because of this right here. So, I got a stack of them right here. I plan on putting them in my car and passing them out to everybody and everywhere that I go. So we really believe we're in the last days and that the Lord is coming again, and we need to be proactive about it. And then also just a reminder, you guys, that we do have a live Bible study on Mondays on YouTube. And here in our office, we have a little meeting area where we gather together to learn the Bible and a prophetic book of the Bible, because we believe it's important that we study prophecy. And so that's what we're into right now. But just to remind you, for the next 2 Mondays, we will be off. This following Monday, of course, is Memorial Day. My wife has the day off, so we're taking the day off. And then the following Monday, we have a planned vacation. Me and my wife are going to Colorado Springs to enjoy a few days of rest and relaxation. Before then, we go and fellowship with our brothers and sisters at the Prophecy Watchers Conference. We will have people there promoting our book and tracts. And so if you're there, come by and say hi. You'll find us. We'll be floating around, having a great time. We love to fellowship with the remnant prophecy teaching believers, like-minded. The fellowship at these events is so awesome. We just can't wait. So, but anyway, our prophecy update today, I kind of entitled the theme for our stories we're going to be looking at to iron and clay. And why is that? Well, one of the signs of what's going to happen in the last days kingdom, the kingdom that is going to be around, most likely forming after the rapture, that the Antichrist will come out of, there will be regional powers that will come together and give the Antichrist his power. And it's interesting how this kingdom is talked about in Daniel chapter 2, where it says, whereas you saw the feet and toes, partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, yet the strength of the iron shall be in it. Just as you saw the iron mixed with ceramic clay, and as the toes of the feet were partly of iron and partly of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly fragile. Loose diplomatic regional alliances. That's basically what that's talking about. And if we start seeing that happening on a global scale, then we know that this time is getting closer. And of course, we were told, that one of the signs of the last days would be nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, a Hebrew idiom for world wars. And we've had 2 of them, and we're on the cusp of another one. Regardless of what Donald Trump tells you, the world is gearing up for war, and we know it is. And so, but in the process, are we seeing diplomatic treaties and things like that? Are we seeing geopolitics moving in that direction? And I think, yes, we are. And of course, Revelation 17 tells us in verses 12 and 13, the 10 horns or 10 toes that we just read, which you saw are 10 kings who have received no kingdom as yet. They haven't, not yet, even as of today, but they will receive authority for 1 hour, meaning a short time. They're going to come up, and it's going to be a very short time from the moment these 10 kingdoms come together. It's going to be very short, as kings with the beast. They are of one mind, and they will give their power and authority to the beast. Woe, and so, and then of course I have another verse down there that we'll save for later. But you get the point. This is like geopolitics are written all over the scriptures, and so are we seeing these things? Well, of course, it's been a couple weeks, and I really could not share everything that was on my heart and mind, but I think one of the most important things that we saw was that President Trump went to China. And we saw this, the White House posted a fact sheet saying President Donald J. Trump secures historic deal with China, delivering for American workers, farmers, and industry. It says this week during the first visit of a U.S. president to the People's Republic of China since 2017, President Donald J. Trump reached a consensus with President Xi Jinping on several issues that will enhance stability and confidence for businesses and consumers around the world. And so, again, and then we shouldn't be surprised to see him traveling with all of these guys. The top U.S. CEOs worth nearly $1 trillion combined are accompanying Trump to China. And of course, who are these folks? Well, this article points out who they are. It says President Trump arrived in China alongside a delegation of billionaire U.S. executives, including Tesla CEO Elon Musk, NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang, underscoring the high stakes of American companies as Washington and Beijing negotiate over trade, artificial intelligence, and the Iran war. The executives, whose combined net worth approaches $1 trillion, lead companies with major business interests in China despite years of disputes between the world's two largest economies. Additional U.S. business leaders who are traveling to Beijing include Blackstone CEO Stephen Schwarzman, a net worth of $47.5 billion, Apple CEO Tim Cook, whose fortune stands at $2.9 billion. Other executives that include Boeing CEO Kelly Ortberg, Xi Jinping, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink, and Meta President and Vice Chair Dinah Powell-McCormick, according to the Associated Press. Mr. Trump said in the same post that he plans to ask Chinese President Xi Jinping to open up China so that these brilliant people can work their magic and help bring the People's Republic to an even higher level. So again, these are arch technocrats. These are the billionaire tech gurus and CEOs that we have been talking about for a long time, all connected to the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab and the technocratic takeover of the United States. All of these things, these are the guys that are hanging around President Trump, and they should concern us because it's all pushing us somewhere. But he's taking them there to try to pressure China. But it's interesting, some pretty fantastic photos. This one here of black and white one, you can see these two world leaders together, and at least China's smiling. Trump doesn't seem to be smiling. Now, I don't know if they purposely colored that in a frown just to make it that way, but it's possible. But anyway, one of the things that Trump did do while he was there, very interesting, he visits China's Temple of Heaven. Temple of Heaven. And I don't know much about this thing, but it has to do with their false idols and false worship. And here he even posted himself on this post walking through this Temple of Heaven. And of course, he's walking in the lead and, behind Xi. And this is supposed to be, a big deal. But, we have to understand that, China worships idols. They worship false. They have nothing to do with the United States and our Christian, Judeo-Christian heritage. And I think it's a shame that we go there and we bow down to their cultures. I don't think Trump really needed to be there, but his ego is so big. I'm going to the temple of heaven. He's still thinking that his good works and peace treaties are going to get him into heaven. And that's very unfortunate. But this is very interesting. Let's listen to Xi Jinping talk about this meeting. I think it was very interesting what he had to say. So let's listen.
250th anniversary of American independence. Congratulations to you and to the American people. I always believe that our two countries have more common interests than differences. Success in one is an opportunity for the other, and a stable bilateral relationship is good for the world. China and the United States both stand to gain from cooperation and lose from confrontation. We should be partners, not rivals. We should help each other succeed and prosper together and find the right way for major countries to get along well with each other in the new era.
So you can see it was a lot of talking about, regional geopolitical agreements. And so that's what really China, you have to understand, China is in a mess economically. We kind of put them in a kind of like in a chokehold with all of the tariffs. And he brought all these powerful execs that have, they rely on Chinese technology and manpower to create and to market their products. And so this is, all a show of force. It's geopolitical positioning of world powers. And so what do we see? Do we see that continuing on? Well, right after that, guess who shows up to China? But Vladimir Putin. And it was his turn with Xi Jinping. It's funny how these things happen this way. This one says, for Xi Jinping, a leader who aspires to place China at the center of world affairs, it was a triumphant week of diplomacy. Just 4 days after Donald Trump concluded his visit to Beijing. Just 4 days after Donald Trump concluded a visit to Beijing, looking for business deals to help with Iran, Vladimir Putin turned up seeking assistance for his war in Ukraine. Russia's president, like America's, lavished praise on the host and left with a clutch of agreements. But like Mr. Trump's, the deals were short. In detail, so we really don't know that much. But we do have a couple of videos of what it looked like. You want to know what it looks like when a dignitaries show up? And of course, we have to understand these regional powers, like China, Russia, these global entities will form into 10 regions. And a lot of this type of diplomacy will mark the 10 kings that gather together and choose to come together as one. And this is the kind of stuff that we will see. I know we've been seeing it for a lot of years, but it's interesting how fast these things are and how they're all going someplace that we know. And so here's what it looks like when Putin showed up for his thing. I don't know about you, but I feel sorry for all those kids. Here, you're going to have to watch it with subtitles. Blew it up a little bit so you could read them. But this is I found this very interesting, what Putin had to say. So if you just read the subtitles, you'll be able to see what he said.
Китайская стратегическая связка играет важную стабилизирующую роль на мировой арене. При этом мы не дружим против кого-либо, а работаем на дело мира и всеобщего процветания. Именно в такой логике Москва и Пекин скоординированно выступают в защиту международного права и положения Устава ООН во всей их полноте, совокупности и взаимосвязанности. Поддерживают активное взаимодействие по линии ООН, Шанхайской организации сотрудничества, БРИКС и других многосторонних структур, внося весомый вклад в решение насущных, общемировых и региональных проблем. Уверен, что вместе мы будем и далее делать все возможное для углубления российско-китайского партнерства и добрососедства ради динамичного развития двух наших стран и благополучия наших народов, в интересах поддержания глобальной безопасности и стабильности. До скорой встречи в Пекине. Благодарю вас за внимание.
So you see all about the globalism, about appealing to UN and being part of the BRICS. And this was a BRICS thing, but still you can see these regional forces coming together like clay and iron together, diplomatic agreements on a global scale, just like we know the last days. And of course, we have to keep our eye on. I don't know what's going to happen before this comes out. I record this about 24 hours before I put it out on the app and the website and the YouTube channel, but we are keeping an eye on the whole Iran thing. I'm really kind of disappointed in what Trump is doing, saying that he's coming up with a deal. As we see this article, Trump says Netanyahu will do whatever I want on Iran, and he's in no hurry to make a deal. This is really a shame because this is not what we want to see. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards has threatened to push the war beyond the region if the U.S. or Israel resumes attacks, promising crushing blows in places that you can't even imagine. The threat comes after President Trump said he had been an hour away from ordering new strikes on Iran Monday, even before Persian Gulf allies asked him not to go ahead with the plan, citing progress in peace talks. Now, that's exactly where they're at. Supposedly, he's going to be coming out probably before this comes out. We were told and announce a peace deal with Iran that's going to take 30 days of negotiation. But I've seen some of the back and forth, and Iran has not budged on what they want, but we have. And so this is not the way you do business with them. He's not standing his ground. He's wobbling on how much of the material. But one of the things that I'm afraid of that might come out before I even put this out, which I see a pattern of, and that is Iran's relationship with Pakistan. And that should be a very worrying one. You guys need to pay attention to this because Pakistan is a nuclear power and one to be reckoned with. And when we start seeing stuff like this, Iran reviews U.S. proposal to end war as Pakistan steps up mediation efforts. This is something we need to pay attention to. It says Pakistan military chief Azim Munir to travel to Tehran for talks, according to Iranian media reports. Tehran says it's reviewing the latest responses from the United States to its proposal to end the nearly 3-month U.S.-Israel war on Iran as mediator Pakistan steps up effort to achieve progress in the talks that U.S. President Donald Trump has warned are a borderline between a deal and renewed strikes. Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesman Ishmael Bagai said late on Wednesday that the Iranians have received U.S. views and are reviewing them, according to the Iranian state agency Noir News. And we see these videos come out of Pakistan showing up to Iran. Now, there's no sound on this one. So you get the picture. You see the picture of all the different successor, ayatollahs on the wall. They're smiling, they're shaking hands, they're making deals. You have to understand this is a nuclear Islamic power that is anti-Israel and anti-American. The only reason why Pakistan does deals with American because we give them a ton of money. That has been proven through the Afghanistan war. And now, what do we see? We see Iran buddy with Pakistan. So what if they come up with a deal and say, well, we'll transfer the uranium over to Pakistan? Is that a great idea? How do we know right now that Pakistan isn't saying, if you get attacked again, we'll let you have a couple of our missiles? This is stuff that we need to be aware of and be careful of, because it's a trend that is not good. And then, of course, we see, changing gears. What about, the continued rising anti-Semitism, that the regional powers will be anti-Israel. The Antichrist will make a peace deal, but it's going to be a fractured peace deal. 3 of the kings are not going to go along with it, and they're going to go and attack the Antichrist, and the Antichrist is going to beat them and be victorious. And then that's when he will deceive the nation of Israel by going into the temple and setting himself up as God. But of course, we saw Vatican giving honor to Iran, these guys that hate Israel, that hate Christians, hate America. And they tried to clean it up a little bit with this article. It says Vatican clarifies honor given to Iranian ambassador. So we see this, the Holy See has clarified that the papal honor awarded to Iran's ambassador to the Vatican was part of a routine diplomatic ceremony for 13 ambassadors. After Iranian media reports presented it was a special gesture by Pope Leo XIV. Mohammed Hossein Makhtari, Iran's ambassador to the Holy See, was among the diplomats who received the title of Knight or Dame Grand Cross in the Order of Pius IX on May 12th. Vatican News said the honors were presented to ambassadors who had seen or had completed 2 years of service as representatives to the Holy See. Why do we even have crazy Islamic leaders in the Vatican? Because they want to create a one world religion, bring everybody together. And so here are some pictures of this great award that they gave to him. You see him shaking hands with the Pope. I mean, come on, you guys. This is ecumenicalism and bringing the world together in one religion like you can't believe. And that shouldn't surprise us when we see this article. Pope to ecumenical movement. We can give life to a new world of peace. A new world of peace. We see these things coming on. It says, according to a report from Vatican News, Pope Leo XIV has delivered a powerful video message to participants in the International Ecumenical Prayer Initiative, Thy Kingdom Come. They think they're going to build the Catholic Church are just as gnar as these other guys. They really believe that they think they're going to do it by bringing all the world religions under the umbrella of the Pope. And that's what they believe. Calling all believers to boldly proclaim the gospel and to help birth a renewed world marked by peace and unity. And they always throw the gospel in there when, Catholics don't even teach the gospel. They teach that you are saved by grace through faith and continued practicing of the Eucharist and confessionals. And if you don't practice those things, then you are out of fellowship with the Catholic Church and you are lost and going to hell. That's what they teach. They teach a gospel of works Anti-Semitism in Germany worse than any time since the Holocaust, reports. The rising anti-Semitism in the world is another sign that we are getting close to the last days. We see it everywhere. What about this article? I mean, it's not just Germany, but also we have it here. Daily briefing on May 21st. Royal Commission. Anti-Semitism soars across Australia. All these Western countries, it's everywhere. And then we have this. This is crazy. In Texas, we have this person in this article that says Texas Dems vow to castrate Zionist, highlights anti-Israel turmoil in U.S. politics. You think it was just contained into Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes? No, it is that they are breeding through both the left and right paradigm in our United States, this wave of anti-Semitism to blame everything on the Jews. And it's sickening to see, but we see it. And this article goes on to say, Texas Democrats vow to castrate Zionist, highlights anti-Israel turmoil in U.S. politics. Congressional candidates' call to imprison American Zionists draws outrage from other Democrats as lines continue to blur between right and left. Israel criticism and anti-Semitism. Galindo won a primary in March in Texas' 35th congressional district around San Antonio with 29% of the vote, beating her rival Johnny Garcia, who had 27. The party's candidacy will be decided in a runoff election next week. Her campaign made a vow to imprison Zionists in an Instagram post last week that circulated widely on Tuesday. She'll turn Carnes ICE detention center into a prison for American Zionists and former ICE officers for human trafficking. It will also be a castration processing center for pedophiles, which will probably be most of the Zionists. The campaign said. They said this stuff. In recent statements, Galindo railed against Zionist billionaire Jews, blamed Israel for immigration enforcement in the U.S., demanded treason charges against politicians linked to Israel, and that Zionists, they all control the media. Then why is all the media anti-Semitic? They control the media. The most popular podcasts out there, the most downloads on and every channel, all the liberal media comes out against Israel. They're genocidal baby killers. So if they control all the media, don't you think they're doing a lousy job at it? So again, this is what anti-Semitism does. This is what they do. They tell a lie loud enough and long enough, and pretty soon everybody believes it. We saw it in 2016. Trump's a racist. He's a racist. He's a racist. He's a racist. Now everybody thinks he's a racist when he never's been a racist. And so that's the type of things. And then our local election, we get these little handouts, and I've read them in the past. We had this open primary in California loaded with different candidates, and they are unashamedly promoting their anti-Semitic behavior. Like this one here, this Glenn Turner gal who's part of the Green Party. She says, divest from genocide. She's talking about state pension funds have over $3 billion invested in companies doing business with Israel. California's treasurer sits on their boards. How dare they? Let's not try to make money for the pensioners by investing in the best economy in the world, which is Israel. Or this kook, this one really got me. And they had to at least they put a disclaimer on it. But why they allowed it was this guy right here, Don Grundman, who said Kirk was murdered by shape-changed bomb Israel used. Government knows. YouTube, why Kirk had to die. Israel murdered Liberty sailors. Israel art students wired Twin Towers for 9/11. And it goes on and on and on and on about this anti-Israel garbage that people believe. People believe this stuff, you guys. It's not going to go away. This momentum is going to continue to go. And then what about the other stuff that's going on in our state, we should start to see exactly what we expect to see. And here's one right here that's kind of a shocker, but it shouldn't surprise us. And that is California takes girl after parents oppose gender transition, moves to put her up for adoption. This is happening in California as we speak. I want to see them in jail, a Christian mother said about California officials separating from her gender-confused daughter, who says she was secretly indoctrinated by her school, which we know is happening in public schools. You need to get kids out of public school because they are being indoctrinated. California seized a Christian woman's teenage daughter for opposing her gender transition, and now the state is moving to put the girl up for adoption. Alexandra, and I can't pronounce her last name, she's an Orthodox Christian and a legal Ukrainian immigrant, lost custody to her then 15-year-old daughter in 2024 after rejecting her sudden desire to transition. So, we've talked about these laws. We've talked about the sleeping Christians in California that aren't getting involved and engaged. And we're seeing this lawlessness starting to take off. And if we think that Donald Trump's going to somehow turn everything around, boy, you are sleeping, because this is what's going to happen on a global scale. As California goes, so goes the nation, so goes the world. And we already see it everywhere else except for pockets in the United States that are standing up, but it's not good. And then what about this? Here we go. We've talked about this stuff, but this just happened too. This one here, Sacramento security guard arrested after shooting deadly burglar. This guy was hired to protect the business. He protects the business because these people were armed and he was afraid for his life, and he gets arrested. How many people are going to want to do security in California if this kind of stuff happens? This is the kind of world that we live in. A security guard who fatally shot one burglary suspect and wounded another earlier this month has been arrested following investigation, Sacramento police said. The shooting occurred on May 8th after 4:30 a.m. Police said they got reports of a burglary at a business at the 8500 block of Thighs Court off Florin Perkins Road. Officers then got additional calls that the sounds of shots being fired. The gentleman, who has never committed a crime in his life, who is a retired former military, served the armed forces, found himself in a situation where his life was in danger, and any reasonable person would have acted like he did and felt that lethal force was necessary, said Alan Sawyer, the attorney for the security guard Joseph Mills. Attorney said that he acted in self-defense. Now, this is some more details. It says this is a locked, secure facility that these armed robbers, they were armed robbers, penetrated the security forces, broke in, and came upon a lone security guard by himself. 9 individuals against 1. There were 9 of them, and they were armed. It's a tragic anybody died, anybody was injured, but this was not a situation created by the security guard. He was doing his job, and his life was in danger. So they arrested him. You can't even protect. No, you can't protect yourself, and you can't have your own children. Pretty soon, you're not going to own personal property. That's the way things are going. And if things weren't crazy enough, we've got enough crazy news all the time that we have this one. This is crazy. De-Extinction Company says it hatched chicks from artificial eggs, paving the way for resurrecting dodos and other bygone birds. Boy, you think it's going to end there? No. Colossal Biosciences announced that 26 live baby chickens have emerged from 3D printed honeycomb structures. But the company does not plan to detail the system on a paper, and its mission has faced criticism. You think? Scientists with the De-Extinction Company, Colossal Biosciences. Now, when are they going to start Jurassic Park? That's what I want to know. Say they have successfully hatched live chicks from artificial eggshells, which they claim is an important step towards their controversial goal of resurrecting extinct bird species like the dodo and the South Island giant moa. You think it's going to stop there? No, it's not. On May 19th, the Texas-based biotech company announced that 26 live baby chickens hatched from 3D printed honeycomb structures designed to mimic eggshells. Colossal biosciences leaders say the system could eventually be scaled up to accommodate extinct bird species that produce much larger eggs. And what about dinosaurs and stuff like that? Hey, why not? Pretty soon it'll be humans. But of course, here's a picture of them doing it. And there's one of the little chickens and all their mad scientist stuff. This is all mad science, you guys. This is Genesis 6 stuff that they're doing, and we see it all the time. But what about other things going on in science? I did an update years ago on quantum computing, and people have just ignored it. Don't understand that these things are continuing to grow, and once they get functional, I don't know what limits there are. We're going to be in a Babylon Genesis 11 moment. That men won't be able to, there'll be nothing that men cannot do once they've developed quantum computing. And you have to go read up on it, because it's a religion in itself. And the fact that they're making these things work is pretty scary. But this article here, different flows of time all exist at the same moment. Scientists claim trapped ion atomic clocks can observe quantum superposition of time. Now, quantum superposition means you can be at two places at the same time. A switch can be on and off at the same time. That's what superposition is. They say they've discovered it and they've made it functional in quantum computing, which, if you know anything about it, I did a whole update on it. It's up on our prophecy update. You can go find it in our archives. I don't have time to get into it, but this story is very fascinating. An international team of researchers have demonstrated a theoretical framework showing that state-of-the-art trapped ion atomic clocks could be turned into a sensitivity precise enough to measure the quantum superposition of time, in which different flows of time exist simultaneously at the quantum level. They're going to enter into dimensions of time that are reserved for God and God alone. Only God is omnipresent. Man is not meant to be omnipresent. We are told in the Bible that we have a beginning and an end, and God is the one who knows our end from our beginning. Jesus is the Alpha and the Omega. He is the one who's consistently holding all things together. And as soon as man starts messing with this realm that's reserved for God, I think bad things are going to happen. And we've been blowing the whistle on this for quite a while, and people are just not learning. And they've done it. They said researchers behind the framework said the next step will be to prove their concept experimentally. They're going to do it. If successful, they suggest that trapped ion atomic clocks could potentially help unravel physics' other fundamental question, the elusive nature of gravity. So then they can get into anti-gravity stuff. And so we found that atomic clocks' motion becomes entangled with its eternal energy, Professor Fu explained. The signature of this entanglement is that the clock itself loses some of its quantum properties, which can be detected using modern techniques. So they can change time. And so that's really what's being said here. And of course, I can't get away from this, because since the last time we met, the UF files have been released, and I went and looked at them. I did a short update that's on the YouTube channel where I kind of did, I looked through them. There was really nothing there. L.A. Mazzulli calls it a nothing burger, but this guy keeps popping up in the news, and he is a real character. And this guy right here, it says 4 separate alien species. This guy, Hel Puthoff, is quite the character. He is what's known as a parascientist. He was involved in all of the remote viewing ESP experiments the CIA did. He's been involved with Skinwalker Ranch. He's been involved with different forms of communicating with different entities. And he's been involved in quantum physics. He's a quantum physics guy. So a very interesting character. But I think as I saw the movie, the Disclosure movie, Age of Disclosure, me and my wife were looking at each other and going, this guy worked for the CIA. He's spilling the beans like crazy. Where was his cyanide pill? Where's this? If the CIA is killing and disappearing all these scientists, why is he out here saying this stuff? And again, you have to take it with a grain of salt, but it's interesting stuff, needless to say, and everybody's talking about it. It says a former CIA scientist has claimed that there are several alien species the U.S. government secretly knows about. He seems to have a lot of knowledge that nobody else does. But Dr. Hal Puthoff, a physicist and electrical engineer who worked on the intelligent community's psychic spy, and UFO research programs in the 70s and 80s. This guy's a long installed deep state CIA operative in the occult. That's exactly what's being said here. This guy is not somebody that we need to have in government at all, right? Said people who have recovered crashed UFOs encountered at least 4 separate types of life. Those species have been previously discussed by physicist Dr. Eric Davis, known for his work on top secret Pentagon projects, who testified in Congress that Greys, Nordics, insectoids, and reptilians are potential operators of unidentified craft. Davis described these entities as humanoid, approximately human-sized, and possibly linked to classified reverse engineering programs allegedly taking place around the world, which U.S. officials have described as a new Cold War. Speaking on Steve Bartlett's The Diary of a CEO podcast last week, Puthoff said, there are at least 4 separate types. Now, I have not had direct access to that. He doesn't really know for sure, right? But I believe that people I talk to, 4 different types of life at least. And he talks about the Greys and the reptilians and the insectoids. And Puthoff appeared on the May 14th podcast with filmmaker director Dan Farah, who recently released the bombshell documentary, The Age of Disclosure, which claimed the U.S. government has been covering up a massive UFO recovery operation since the 40s. But why didn't he bother to bring this up then? This would have been a good thing to bring up in the video. Why all of a sudden now? And again, here's a picture of, here's a picture of all 4 of them. Somebody created this AI. I got this from End Times headline, so I don't know if they made it up, but the 4 most reported alien beings we've got. And we know that if you watch any of the L.A. Mazzulli, you watch Prophecy Watchers, you know that there's been a lot of talk about these things for a long time. This is nothing new, but, have I seen one? No. Do I know if it's true? I don't know, but I know if they exist, they are angelic in character, shape-shifting themselves into things that people want to deceive many people. And of course, Donald Trump, right when this comes out, this is coming out, right? This is happening. Then Donald Trump, out of the blue, decides to post this on his Truth Social. Him walking on a secret base somewhere with an alien. So, of course, it's probably AI generated, but they sure made it look real, didn't they? And Donald Trump put this out. And so, how much of this is true? I don't know. It's just crazy that all of this stuff is happening now. It's crazy. And then, that just in 2 weeks since I dropped my last video, they've dropped the UFO files. And then there's been 1 billion views of the website UFO. Now, of course, if they count each time I connected in there must have been 30 or 40, because every time I clicked a different link, did they count that as one? I don't know, because you have to open page after page after page after page to open up all these documents to look at them. And but before we leave you today, I just want to show you how crazy this is. A story that I think encapsulates what's going on in the world right now. This story right here, where we have geopolitics, where we have biosciences, where we have technology, We have all of these things converging at once, and really at such a fast pace that I really think this just shows how crazy things are in the world. And so this is story right here. Waymo driverless cars overrun Atlanta neighborhoods, circling cul-de-sacs, alarming families with kids. The company also recalled recently 4,000 vehicles this week over a glitch involving standing water. You know, these are things they were supposed to test before they put them out there. But, you know, it's just like AI. All this, they're just throwing it out there as fast as they can without testing it, without knowing if it's safe. And you know, pretty soon we're going to have robots walking around. We've already seen them walking around the street. I've seen videos, but we're going to have robots everywhere pretty soon, all run by AI on the Wi-Fi, just like these Waymo cars. Are we going to see something like this? I think we will. One Atlanta neighborhood has dealt with Waymo problems than they expected. Waymo problems. It's a joke. The Georgia City Northwest Buckhead neighborhood has been overrun in the last couple of weeks by empty, driverless rideshare vehicles due to an apparent routing behavior issue. It's almost every little cul-de-sac in our area, so I think it's a problem. A neighbor who lives on the embattled Battleview Drive told the TV news. So let's take a look at this video and just show you. This is like, to me, this is like exactly, I mean, when I look at the news, when I look at what's going on in the world, when I look at just everything from what's going on in the church and just my personal life, all the way up to geopolitics, sometimes I look at this video and this is what I feel like. This is what I feel like the chaos of the world is. So let's watch this.
1, 2. Are you kidding me?
Waymo after Waymo after Waymo enter this dead-end street, usually early in the morning.
I think yesterday morning we had 50 cars that came through between 6 and 7.
They even shared video with us when neighbors used this little guy to put him right out here in the street to block the Waymos from getting into the cul-de-sac, and you can imagine what happened next.
And we had at one point 8 Waymos that were stuck trying to figure out how to turn around.
The Waymos are empty and not picking anyone up. Parents are worried, not only calling it excessive, but dangerous.
We're families, we have small kids, we have animals and pets, we've got kids getting on the bus in the mornings, and it just doesn't feel safe to have that traffic.
Neighbors reached out to Waymo and have not got a response. They've also contacted their council member, representatives, and GDOT, who don't know what to do.
We would just like to see them stay on main traffic roads. I don't think there's any reason to be on small residential cul-de-sacs if they're not picking up somebody.
So you can see, I mean, can you imagine? What if that happens to the autonomous military drones that they are creating? What if that happens to the autonomous robot helpers that are going to be in everybody's homes or businesses? If it can happen to a bunch of driverless cars, why can't it happen to all of these other systems that we're putting in place? So really, I don't know about you, but that's kind of the way I feel everything is going on right now. The convergence of all these signs is so chaotic. It almost feels like that. Like you don't know what's going to happen next. And it's all converging into a cul-de-sac with all of this stuff that's happening. And I know that ultimately, it's going to be a lot worse in the tribulation period because we read in Luke 21, verses 25 through 26, and there will be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars and on the earth, the stress of nations with perplexity. We don't understand what's going on. The sea, all of humanity roaring about it. Men's hearts are failing. They're dying from heart attacks because of the fear and the expectation of those things which are coming on the earth, for the power of the heavens will be shaken. All of these news stories are geared to put people into fear. Everything from the biosciences, sciences to the quantum computing that they're telling us will never be safe, to all of the new diseases. We got Ebola and hantavirus and all of this stuff they're throwing at us to live in fear, technology and AI that we cannot trust. And then now we've got alien species and UFOs, and it's all converging like these Waymos getting stuck into this thing. And it's shocking to me. And of course, then we saw what's happening with the anti-Semitism and the loss of personal freedoms in the state of California is telling us that Isaiah 5:20, which was on that slide earlier, woe to those who call evil good and good evil. Woe who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. So we see these things coming to a head. We see the world going exactly the way that it is supposed to go according to the Bible. And don't be shocked when you're scatterbrained and not sure what's going on in the world, when it seems to be a bunch of driverless cars going into a cul-de-sac, not knowing where to go, stuck in one place, driving by, not knowing, because that's really the way the world is going. It's not going to know what hit them. That just like it was in the days of Noah, when Noah was a preacher of righteousness, people thought he was crazy. It's never rained. It's not going to rain. And all of this stuff is happening all at once. And we keep showing you guys story after story after story, telling you that millions of people are going to be missing at any moment. And people say that we're crazy. We don't understand what's going on. And, I don't need to be an expert in the news. I don't need to know. I am not an expert. But all I can do is point out these headlines and tell you that the day of the Lord is coming at any moment. It's coming upon the world like a bunch of driverless Waymos coming into a cul-de-sac that are going to get stuck, and boom, it's going to happen. It's going to hit the world off guard at any moment. And they're going to blame it on UFOs. They're going to blame it on quantum time machine things. They're going to blame it on all kinds of stuff. They're going to, and the world is going to fall for it, hook, line, and sinker. That's why I do these updates. Not so I can be a news guy or show how smart I am about geopolitics. I'm not smart at all about any of these things. But I watch the news and I know we're living in the last of the last days. And everybody who views these things knows it. And I know it. So if you're watching this today and you've swallowed some kooky guy from Orangevale long enough, and you don't know the Lord Jesus Christ, I am telling you, you need to stop right where you are, fall down on your knees, cry out to God, and place your faith and trust in the finished work of Jesus Christ on the cross. Because it is, time is ticking, and it's ticking quickly. And when I see these stories, I can't even, there were at least a dozen I left out of stories, and I'm at 55 minutes right now. And I barely can squeeze in what I think is important. And there was plenty that I wanted to talk about. I just didn't have time to talk about it. But I can't keep up with where we're at. So I am begging you, if you do not know the Lord Jesus Christ, you need to stop and get saved today. He died for your sins. He rose again from the dead. Quit playing around, putting it off any longer. Because I can tell you that there's a good possibility that we'll be gone before this video hits the air. And I'm telling you, these things, this is what the Bible teaches. You can call me crazy. You can call me, that's not what the early church, you can tell me whatever you want to tell me, but I know what the Bible teaches because that's what I've used to learn about this. And I have never felt closer to the return of the Lord than I do today. And every day it's getting crazier and crazier, like a bunch of way. And when they start having robots, if we're here that long, oh man, they start brain chipping people. What happens when a bunch of brain chip people land up like those Waymos? Hoo-hoo! Man, we're going to have some kooky stuff. Life is crazy enough as it is. But if we know the Lord Jesus Christ, if you've placed your faith and trust in him, the good news is that we have the blessed hope. Jesus is coming. Don't get discouraged. Don't get off track. Don't think that he's not coming. He is. His timing is not our timing, but we need to trust in his timing. And we're not going to be here for those terrible things we read about in Luke 21, but we will be here maybe to see some more crazy stuff like today. But when those things, when the Bible says when we see those things begin to take happen, we look up because we know our redemption, our deliverance from this earth is coming soon. So keep looking up, you guys. Thank you for all the encouragement I get from you guys. Thank you for just being there. And so we're probably not going to have an update for the next couple weeks. I'm probably going to do one next week, and I'm not quite sure how that's going to work, but pray for me. I have 2 memorials to go to next weekend, and then we're going to Colorado Springs on vacation, and then a conference, which, of course, that first June Friday, I will not be able to do an update. So pray for us as we continue to try to find a lot of time to share with you guys here online. And so thank you, guys. God bless you all. And, of course, Maranatha.